Little changes can actually make massive changes to our entire lifestyle. Here, I'm not about telling you stop eating this, stop eating that straight away. No, those little changes will actually help you to start reducing how much carbohydrate is within your lifestyle and how much sugar is being converted from those carbohydrates. You need to know your family history, if you've had gestational diabetes, and so on and so forth. These are the things that increase your risk of getting diabetes. You can actually reverse the pre-diabetes by changing certain things within your diet. So we've been talking a lot about diabetes, but we haven't actually talked about those who have what we call pre-diabetes. Yes, there is the pre before the diabetes. These are people whose blood glucose levels, HbA1c in this case, falls between 42 millimoles per mole and 47 millimoles per mole. In this category, we say that you do have what we call pre-diabetes. Now, some of you might think that pre-diabetes does not mean that I have diabetes, but it is a precursor, which means that it is leading you in the steps you're walking towards getting diabetes. It does carry the same risk as having diabetes because the glucose levels in the blood are still high. They're not high enough for us to class it as diabetes, but there is still a higher form of glucose in your bloodstream. So for example, somebody who's just crossed over the 41 millimoles per mole line and goes in the 42 millimoles per mole is pre-diabetic. But then yet again, you have somebody whose blood glucose level is 47 millimoles per mole. Now remember that we said that at diagnosis, your blood glucose level is 48 millimoles per mole. So if your blood is 47 and the diagnosis is 48, but yet being 47 is pre-diabetic and 48 is diabetes, does that mean that there is no blood glucose in your level? Of course it does. The blood glucose is high, maybe it's just not at a tipping point yet. I've got these 2 cups here and I want you to follow me here. Now, if your red blood cells have sugars in them, and let's say the sugar needs to be at this level for you to be diabetic, this is an illustration. Okay, when you have pre-diabetes, it might be that, especially if you have a number at 47 or 45 and a number at 48, is there a difference between somebody who's just been diagnosed with 48 millimoles per mole and somebody who's living with pre-diabetes at 45 to 47 millimoles per mole? Not necessarily. It just means that you probably have, if you can look at this one has sugar in there and this one has slightly less sugar in there, which means that there is still glucose going around the body. When it goes from one part of the body to another, it is still dropping sugar particles in your eyes, in your kidneys, in the different parts of your body, and it is still causing damage. So do not be deceived and be saying, I only live with pre-diabetes, so I don't have any problems. What should you do about it? Oftentimes we tell you about diet and lifestyle. We've previously told you that you need to know your family history, if you've had gestational diabetes, and so on and so forth. These are the things that increase your risk of getting diabetes. Please never ever think that because you have pre-diabetes that you are saved by the bell. No, there's really no safe by the bell, because really you do have high sugars. You can actually reverse the pre-diabetes by changing certain things within your diet, like looking at your carbohydrate intake, how much exercise you do, looking at whether you need to take some weight off you. Once that's done, you stay without sugar in your bloodstream. But do you stay without sugar in your bloodstream if you do not continue with those changes? Because once you start to reintroduce those changes, guess what? The sugar in the blood starts to come back. So you need to remain with those lifestyle changes to remain without excess glucose in your blood. Remember, I said to you that your body needs glucose for it to work. So you need those carbohydrates. But are you eating that sadza, that rice, that potato in excess? Because what you're doing is, if you're not making the right changes, you are just adding more and more and more glucose to your bloodstream. And that can cause a problem for you. Now, I've given a guide on here, an ebook guide about pre-diabetes. Just quickly explains all about pre-diabetes for you and some of the changes that you'll be able to do. Feel free to click on it and you can read more about pre-diabetes. But pre-diabetes is a precursor to diabetes. But remember, it still carries the same risk as having diabetes. So we need to do something about it. You're probably asking, so what am I going to eat? Most times people will say to me, you might as well just kill me now. You don't want me to eat food, especially if you come from an African descent, because what do? We eat rice for breakfast. gari for lunch or sadza for lunch, and then we eat rice again for dinner. So of course the glucose levels are what they're piling and they're coming all over our head. You can make slight changes, okay? We're not asking you to climb a mountain in one day, because before you climb a mountain, you have to do the preparations to be able to climb that mountain. What we're asking you to do is to do a food diary, okay? Have a food diary. We've put a link to a free food diary there for you to actually look at what you're eating in a week. Start from there. Just be honest with yourself. Have the food diary, what you eat for breakfast, what you eat for lunch, what you eat for dinner. That would help you to be able to see and zone into what you're actually eating. You can actually say, for breakfast, I had rice and beans. For lunch, I had gari or sadza, or I had a burger. For dinner, I had this. And then you start to look at how much carbohydrates and how much calories are within the food that you're eating. And then you can say, so for breakfast instead, I'm going to cut out my rice. I'm going to have boiled eggs and some tuna, for example. This is an example. And then you've cut out the excess carbohydrates from that breakfast option, okay? Or you look at your dinner and you say, am I really active at dinner time? No, I'm not. So I'm not going to eat something that's too carb heavy, because all I'm doing is becoming a couch potato. So you're going to say, I'm going to have a bit of salad here or some vegetables. For those of you who are African, you might say, or Nigerian, you might say, I'm going to have a bit of efo, but rather than having efo with pounded yam, you're going to have efo on its own, or efo with brown rice, a portion, not the one that we heap, you know, those ones we heap, a little portion of brown rice to have with the efo if you really need it to fill you in, because sometimes that efo alone will fill you. Those little changes will actually help you to start reducing how much carbohydrate is within your lifestyle and how much sugar is being converted from those carbohydrates. Little changes can actually make massive changes to our entire lifestyle. Here, I'm not about telling you stop eating this, stop eating that straight away. No, we're saying let's look at what is going into your mouth, because without us knowing, things are going in our mouth. You're bored, you put stuff in your mouth. You want to do this, you're stressed, you put stuff in your mouth. I get it. Sometimes I'm in that situation. But if we take a pause and use the food diary and just be conscious of writing it in. You have to be honest with yourself. I'm only the clinician who's here to help you, but be honest with yourself. You eat rice, write it down. How much rice did you eat? And then look at this. Maybe take it to your clinician and say, this is my food diary for the week. Where can I make the changes? It is only when you look within that the changes start to happen on the outside. So that's my suggestion for you. You're asking me what to do. I've put a free food diary for you, which is in the video somewhere around this video. Click to download it and just write down what you're doing. Once you're done, you can actually look back and then actually start to make those changes. If you're confused and you don't know where to make those changes, book an appointment with us. We are always happy to link you in with our dietitians or one of our clinicians who will be able to review with you and then start to tell you where to make those changes. I hope it makes sense to you. Feel free to leave us a comment, as always, and we'll be able to help you out. Click the link, download the free guide, it's free after all, and then write those things down so that you can actually see where you need to make those changes, and then we know how to help you best. Pre-diabetes can be reversed, but you need to know how to reverse it when you know what's happening in your body. If you want to know more, you can always visit us at our website, book an appointment to see one of our dietitians, one of our clinicians, who will be able to look at your menu, suggest things for you, so we can take you from having this amount of glucose to no amount of glucose. I hope this video makes sense to you. If you want to know more, stay tuned, click the links, like, subscribe, turn on the notification button, and we'll always be here to help you, explain things to you, dissect things to you in a way that you understand. For now, I'm going to drink this water because it's not a blood sugar level. Until the next video, we'll see you again. Keep living well with whatever condition you have, but make sure you're making those changes to your lifestyle and your diet that will make you stay with your family a lot more and enjoy your life without complications. We appreciate you watching our channel, and we will continue to bring the best for you in the simplest way possible for you. Take care. Bye.